animals, they're treated like objects in society today. Just because we have dominion over them doesn't mean that we should hurt them. If they buy eggs, what they're supporting the debeaking, which is like a super painful experience for them. It's like cutting off the tip of our nose without any anesthesia. But visit any dairy farm, there's so much death around, there's so much suffering. On the Indian dairy farm, they're starved to death because it's not really legal to kill them. No one told me where does dairy come from ever.
202 million chickens
every day
are killed every single day.
So if people were to meet a cow, if people were to meet a pig, they are the exact same. Act the same way as dogs and cats. I've had a reel go viral, reach the wrong audience. Now I get DMs and people ask me, why are you vegan? And it's like, well, why aren't you?
Hi Farah, welcome to Sustainability with Shreya. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invite, and I'm so grateful to be on your podcast today.
Of course. Tell me all about your work as an animal advocate, as a vegan content creator, and how you got started on this journey.
Yes. So for all those that don't know me, my name is Farah. I've been vegan for about 3 years now, and so I started my advocacy June 2022. So then now 1.5 years that I've been active on social media, and I'm super passionate about it now, about spreading awareness. I come from a media and film background, so I decided to combine my passion on veganism and my passion of video content creating. And then I decided to just use those two skills, two passions. And now I feel like I found my real purpose, where I really have a purpose with my videos. Every single video, I hope that it inspires. I hope, I want it to have a message. I want people to, think differently about things. So yeah, I'm super happy now that I can get to do this.
I love that.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst? What made you go vegan?
What made me go vegan? So my brother's vegan, and he was vegan 1 year before I turned vegan. So, and when he turned vegan, trust me, I never thought I'd be vegan at all. I thought.
Did you grow up eating meat?
I grew up eating everything. Yeah. Except I never ate pig, which I'm very happy about because my dad's side of family is Muslim, so I never ate pig, which pigs are so cute, so I'm happy I never ate them.
And intelligent.
Yes, so intelligent. Really, people underestimate the intelligence of pigs and just how cute they are. But so I grew up eating everything. I ate meat, fish, dairy, a lot of dairy as well. And my brother was vegan, and I didn't understand why he was vegan. I was like, why would you cut out
What
products?
was his catalyst? What was the trigger point for him?
Yeah, so he was living in LA at the time, and he got inspired kind of by the LA culture once he would try veganism.
Yeah. Infectious.
Yeah, so he was already into the whole vegan diet, the idea of it, but he actually turned vegan after watching a film called Okja, and it's on Netflix if people want to see it. It's a really, really great film.
What's it about?
Yeah, so it's a fiction film by the Korean director he directed Parasite as well. And he creates this world where we're growing this super pig, and these super pigs are obviously super intelligent as well. And they're growing these super pigs so that they can feed a lot of people with just super pigs versus all normal sized pigs. Yeah. So it's this dystopian world where it makes meat really seem as something really weird, and it's a really powerful film, and it's really entertaining as well because it's a fiction film. That's why it's great for everyone to watch, and it has a vegan message, a subtle vegan message, which is so great. So that turned him vegan, and I would remember my non-vegan days, and I remember him, we were eating eggs or something, and he would be like, oh, baby chicks die because you eat eggs. He would say things like this, and I was just like, that doesn't happen, that's not true, what are you talking about? I didn't get it at all. But we were living together in quarantine in COVID. So I turned vegan in August 2020. So we were living together in COVID. We were having family vegan meals so that, we could all eat vegan so that he could have vegan food. And so we were all living together eating vegan food. I was basically accidentally plant-based in that way. I was pretty much not eating any animal products.
But that's incredibly supportive because a lot of families, if one person goes vegan, it's almost like, I'm not going to make extra food or different food from what we're already cooking just to accommodate somebody else's dietary preferences. Yeah, no, so that's really cool that you wouldn't make vegan food just because your brother was vegan.
I know. I think it was because it was quarantine. So it was kind of let's just all get together and cook amazing Italian. We had an Italian night, we had a Mexican night because we were just we're in quarantine. We didn't know what else to do.
I think we all turned into chefs during that.
Exactly. But so we did support him in that way. But I do have to say that him being vegan, like that's why the word vegan was so weird to me, because I never thought I'd be vegan, because we go out to eat and we'd all be like, my brother's the only vegan ones to be like, oh, well, he can't have that though because he's vegan, and we'd always make it such a big deal that he was vegan. So in that way, like I never really thought of turning vegan at all, except then in quarantine I was already accidentally plant-based, and I ordered outside food, and it was a very heavy dairy dish. And then I ate that, and my body had already adjusted to like being without dairy. So then I felt so nauseous. Like I felt like I was going to throw up.
Really? Your body was not taking that?
Exactly. Wow. My body was already adjusted to being off dairy in that way. So then when I ate dairy, like I wanted to throw up. And that moment, I remember that it was August 2020, and I just decided like, I don't ever want to eat something that makes me feel that way. So I basically turned vegan, or I turned plant-based for health. I was like, I don't want to eat anything that makes me feel sick or is not good for my body. So I decided to turn plant-based, and then I started following vegan pages online. I started looking at videos of the dairy industry. I started just exposing myself to where the products come from, which I've never, like no one told me that, right? No one told me where does dairy come from ever. We just have this idea.
Take me through that journey. Take me through what you discovered and what you learned and what solidified your faith in that transition.
So it was like, I was in such a shock that it's like I said, like, why did no one show me this? Like I told Rafi as well, my brother, I was like, why did you not show me factory farm footage when you went vegan? Like, why is that not something that's openly seen? Because I found out about it after deciding to go plant-based. I looked at the footage.
What footage?
What happens to chickens and in the egg industry? People don't know if they buy eggs, what they are supporting. They're supporting the debeaking, which is like a super painful experience for them. It's like cutting off the tip of our nose without any anesthesia. The male chicks are ground up alive in like and it's just so many horrible
byproduct
ways. Sorry,
the male chicks, like the byproducts.
Yeah, because obviously they cannot produce eggs, so and they still hatch, and it's female and male, so then all the males go into either they die by suffocation or by actual shredding alive. So that is the main practice of the egg industry. So all these practices, I just became aware of that. And then I was like, this is so horrible what happens to the animals. And for us just to have these experiences of taste and pleasure, right? Which is why we consume animal products, not because we need them, but just because we enjoy them. And I was like, what happens to these animals can ever justify like what, like to get these products, like it doesn't make sense, right? So then I was like, then I decided that I would never eat these animal products again, and that's when I decided to turn vegan, mostly for ethical reasons.
So your brother inspired you?
Yes, I always say this, my brother was my inspiration.
Is your family vegan? Is there anyone else in the family who's vegan?
Yes, so my mom turned vegan the same time as me, actually.
Same reason?
Yeah, we turned vegan together. And she was actually already vegetarian for a long time. So I was raised in that way. Like we did have a lot of vegetarian food as well. But my dad's side of the family ate a lot of meat.
Oh, that balance.
So she was so she turned vegan as well then with me, and then my grandparents, from my mom's side, they're both vegan as well.
That's so cute. Did you two inspire
to be honest, they actually went vegan even a year before my brother turned vegan.
No
and
way.
that's a whole other story if you're ready for that.
Yeah, so, I mean, vegan grandparents, how cool is that? I don't... What is this? Can I be part of this family?
And
do you know they space to adopt me?
Yes,
that's another plant-based child. If they'll have me,
join the vegan family.
Yeah, love to.
So and they actually eat so good. Like they eat better than we eat. They eat like whole food, plant-based, so healthy. They eat from their homegrown garden in France. They live in the middle of France, and they eat from their homegrown garden.
Retirement dreams popping in my head.
Swear.
That's on my vision board.
I know.
Have their own farm and community garden, and
yes,
that's so cute.
And with some farm animals, like rescued farm animals.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, rescued farm animals.
So my grandpa, he developed prostate cancer. And this is so crazy because he was vegetarian for most of his life. Both my grandparents were. My grandma turned vegetarian at like age 24 because her dad was a hunter and she couldn't deal with seeing all these dead animals all the time. She didn't want to eat meat, so she turned vegetarian already. And my grandpa was vegetarian, but he still ate dairy products. So that he still developed prostate cancer because of the hormone in like dairy products and egg products. There's a lot. It's very hormonal, and that increase your chances of developing a hormonal cancer like breast cancer or prostate cancer. So he developed prostate cancer, and that's when they decided to cut out all foods that contain hormones such as dairy and egg, and that's why they decided to go vegan. And then now he's cleared of prostate cancer. Wow. And he's super healthy. He literally says to me he feels better now than when he was like 40 years old, and they're both 74. So yeah,
and I've met them, the cutest vegan grandparents in the world. I've never met vegan grandparents, but they definitely top off.
They're so amazing, sure. And they if they and whenever I'm with them, they cook like such good foods, like things we would never think of. They make their own like patties, they make their own bread, gluten-free as well. Like it's amazing.
I love that. That's what I think I'm manifesting when I grow older. I just want to be like, I want to be like your grandparents for sure. Dream life.
You will 100%. You will be.
What type of vegan are you? How do you identify yourself on the spectrum of veganism?
Yeah. So there's a lot of like, when it comes to veganism, I think there's like 3 main reasons people turn vegan. I think it's the environment's a reason, health as well, for plant-based for health, and then vegan for the animals. And I think I fall into that category of like an ethical vegan for sure, just because I'm so passionate about sharing. I'm such an animal advocate in that way. I think animals, are not, they're treated like objects in society today, and I really want to inspire change in people's mindset that we can view them, just because we have dominion over them doesn't mean that we should hurt them and treat them the way we do. So I'm really an vegan for the animals girl in that way.
Tell me more about your work around animal advocacy. What type of content do you create? What do you focus on? What impact do you think it has on your viewers and your audience?
Yeah. I think the main thing when I started out is that I wanted to tell people what happens to animals is not public knowledge, and it's purposely not public knowledge because if the consumer knows what actually happens, they wouldn't buy the products.
So why do you say that?
It's so important to answer that question, because it's like, if you ask people, do you support animal cruelty? They will say no. No one supports animal cruelty. People see videos of someone hitting a dog, they'd get outraged, But then you ask them, okay, what about the animals that we put into slaughterhouses, that we kill for our food? What about them? Do you support that animal abuse? And people just are very unaware of the animal abuse that happens in farms. They think that these animals turn into meat products in some type of glamorous way, where they fall asleep and then we kill them without them feeling any pain, and then we get the meats very no blood. Like that's what people assume or something, because that's
what we see in terms of packaging, in terms of the story that's being sold to us.
Exactly, but that's all it is, a story, right? I've seen the footage. I've been on a dairy farm myself, and it's something out of a horror movie. So if we take, for example, a pig farm, in order for there to be pig meat, there needs to be continuous production of pigs. So this requires mother pigs to get artificially inseminated for them to give birth, for these baby piglets then be born and raised for slaughter. Now, this process is it's so horrible. If you see the footage of these mother pigs, first of all, they are confined in crates where they can't even turn around. They have to pee and poo where they stand, which is also near where their piglets are. I've seen a footage. This is a bit maybe going too graphic, but she was peeing, the mother pig, and her piglets would be dancing in her pee. And just imagine that. And a lot of the times, they lay on these concrete floors and they develop these sores on their bodies. And the piglets, the mortality rate is really high. A lot of the piglets die. And then they're imagine all these baby piglets walking around their dead baby siblings. And then what also happens, they get castrated without anesthesia. So they just pick up the piglets, slice their balls, and then just put them back down. Like that is just regular standard procedures of what happens in farms.
That's heartbreaking.
I know. And I've seen all the footage, and it's not something you want to watch, not something you want to deal with, and not something we have to look at it from a victim's perspective. Would we want to be in their shoes? Would we want to be a pig being if that was done to us? And if we don't, then why do we do it to them? And it's starting to as we are the oppressors, right? We are the ones who are doing this onto other people, on their other species. I think the only reason that we still continue to do what we do today, and which is, you know, having the meat industry, having the dairy industry, is because we have the dominion over these animals. We're the ones above it. We're not the actual victim in these scenarios, and that's why I'm such a passionate animal advocate, to speak up for these victims, because it's so easy to argue from our perspective. Like, I still enjoy to eat meat. I'm gonna turn a blind eye because it's not happening to us, right? We're not the pigs who are being castrated without anesthesia. So in that way, like, I think it's so hidden from the public that all these procedures happens, all this suffering that happens, it's so hidden from them. And I think if we know that with our purchase we are supporting this proper animal abuse, we wouldn't do it. But the animal abuse is so hidden from us, and that's why we have the meat industry in today. And that's why we are so blind to the fact of what happens to animals.
Have you ever visited a dairy farm? Have you seen footages of what happens to cows, buffaloes, calves? And would you like to tell us about that?
I did visit a dairy farm myself. It was quite recent, and I really, really wanted to visit a farm. I've seen so much footage online. Like, I've just obviously exposed myself to all there is. I've seen Western dairy industry footage. Majority of the footage online is about the Western industries. But I got a chance to visit one in India, and it was a buffalo dairy farm. It was in Mumbai, in Aarey Colony. They had some dairy cows as well, but it was mostly buffaloes. And it was so horrible. It was just all of these buffaloes, they are chained. They're very short chains, and they all have to pee and poo where they stand. They sit in their own shit. They're so miserable. I try to like come up to them and give some compassion, but they got really scared of you because the only interaction with humans that they know is negative. So they don't want to be pet by you. They're very scared. They're
scared of touch.
Yeah. Because the only touch they know is being hit, unfortunately. People just don't know this, that, you know, imagine like these industries, they work with so many animals. So the farmers, they have to take care of the animals in the way that they have to feed them, and they have to make sure they do the routinely checks, but that's it. There's no actual caring of them. There's just they're objects to them. So the only touch they know is of being hit. We've actually seen a farmer hit the cow just because the cow had to move in a certain direction and it wasn't going in that direction. So he would start just beating the cow just to get it in that direction, and it was just so horrible. And obviously we couldn't be there as open activists, so we had to pretend that we were undercover. We had to pretend that we were interested in buying the farm, so we couldn't like show emotion. We had to like pretend that what we were seeing is okay, you know. So that was down. I wanted to cry. I really like, and I couldn't, obviously, because if you cry they'll be like, why are you crying?
Blow your camera.
Yeah. So it was such a horrible experience of like seeing that, but also having to pretend to be okay with it. I had a nightmare the day after visiting the farm. But yeah, so they're all chained. They're all we've seen also, so in order for there to be dairy, which is cow's breast milk, the cow needs to be pregnant for 9 months and have a baby. That baby is then taken away, and then the cow is milked, and that is how we have cow's milk. So people don't know that all of these buffaloes and cows, they're all females in the farm. Now, so that's why all of these buffaloes and cows in this farm, some of them are pregnant, some have just given birth. There's only a couple of males in the farm, and they are the ones that are used for the to get the females pregnant. Yeah. And the way they do this, either they restrain the female in a rack, and then they let the bull do its thing, which is also not very nice for the cow to be restrained while doing that. It's the opposite of natural. Or they artificially inseminate the female using the semen from a bull, and the way they collect the semen from the bull is also through anal electrocution. So I've seen that happen actually with the buffalo or the cow being restrained, and then the bull as well. So there's just, it was a horrible as well. They were beating the bull during the whole thing as well, trying to get him to probably do the deed. So there was a lot of beating involved, just on site. And I can't blame the farmers for their how they act, because they're also a victim of the system.
That's true.
Exactly. So they imagine that the industry has to just supply the demand, right? They have to from their perspective, they're just trying to create as many animals to supply our demand for meat. And these farmers obviously have to deal with so many animals, and animals all have their own personalities. They all have their own wants and needs, and they're not going to act the way they're not objects. So they're not going to act in the way the farmers would need them to act in order to become objects in the supermarket. So these farmers have to deal with all these animals, and there's tons of cases where they get really mad because their animals aren't acting the way they want them to act, so they take out their rage on the animals.
So beaten into submission.
Yes. It's a lot of beating involved. They obviously also have to kind of shut down their emotional connect. They cannot connect with these animals, and there are a lot of farmers and slaughterhouse workers who have turned vegan, and they've just realized that they don't want to be part of this anymore. And they feel horrible about what they've done to animals, but it's at the end of the day, it's not their fault, because as consumers, we're the ones that are actually
demanding that.
Yes, exactly. So there is a lot of these things like beating and just people just don't know what happens for animal products to be there.
So you said that the cow is pregnant for 9 months.
Yeah.
And how many times can the cow get pregnant in her lifetime?
Isn't that actually crazy to imagine that a cow is pregnant for 9 months, which is the exact thing as humans?
Yeah.
And I think as women, we really also should, relate to that we know what it feels like to have a baby for 9 months and to have that baby be born and to have that maternal connection. Actually, cows are very maternal. They will recognize their children after I don't know how many years. They know who, they have a very strong bond. And there's so many cases where the cows and their calves are separated after birth, and the cow is for long nights just keeps screaming out for her calf. And it's a horrible practice in the dairy industry, but a cow or a buffalo is pregnant for 9 months. Baby is born. Baby gets taken away almost immediately because all that milk that the cow or buffalo has produced is going to be for production, is going to be sold. So the calf can't have any of it. So in the Indian dairy industry, they tie the calf with also very short rope away from the mother. And I've seen tons of calves on the farm when I visited. They are so sad. They're without their mother. They're actual babies. They're just maybe a few days old, a few weeks old, not even a few weeks, because what happens to them, if the calves who are born are female, then they get put in the same system of their mothers and also be used for their milk.
The cycle just perpetuates.
Yes. And if they are male, then these male calves get sent to slaughter. And the veal industry, which is calf meat, only exists because of the dairy industry to make use of this really big supply of all these male calves that they didn't know what to do with. So the veal industry has been created because of that, as a way to still make a profit from this byproduct. So they get sent to slaughter. Sometimes they're shot at birth. Happens on Western.
Shot at birth.
Yeah, that happens on Western dairy farms. Either they're shot at birth, and that's why there's not an actual good number of how many male calves are actually killed per year on dairy farms, because it just happens like this, and there's not really a record. But visit any dairy farm. There's so much death around. There's so much suffering. On the Indian dairy farm, what happens is that they're starved to death because it's not really legal to kill them. So in that way, they just starve them slowly. They don't give them any milk. They don't give them any food. They just hide them away, and they're starved to death.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I think it happens illegally that they do get sent to slaughter. And when we visited the dairy farm, these workers were honest with us, and they said that these calves are going to be picked up tomorrow for slaughter. And it was just,
they said that.
Yeah. It was, so they apparently on the farm they have a quote of it costs money to keep a certain number of animals, so they have to pay for each number of each animal that they have. So that's why they also sent a female calf as well to slaughter, because they didn't need her. So they.
What do you mean they didn't need her?
In the sense that usually the female calves are the ones being put back into the system, right, to be a female that they impregnate for milk. But because they already had enough animals, she was born, and then she and the other male calves were all going to be picked up by a truck the next day.
Imagine having your fate sealed the day you're born.
Yeah, which is the animal agriculture industry. Yeah, and it's so crazy if we, you know, when we break it down.
Yeah.
And you, as a like an animal activist, you can become really, really depressed and be like, how do we allow this as a society? I think they say that till we still have slaughterhouses in this world, like there will be war, because there's so much violence in slaughterhouse. Like, what do people think slaughterhouses are, right? They're not pretty. These animals are sentient, intelligent. They know what's happening to them. They can smell the blood. They understand what's happening to their friends. They can see the, it's not pretty. It's not like they're all individually shut off from each other, not seeing what happens. Like it's a production line, and they get, and while they stand in this production line, they can smell the blood. They see the fear of their other peers. And like, it's so clear to these animals what's happening to them. And then people ask me, why are you vegan? And it's like, well, why aren't you? You know, like it just doesn't make sense to keep doing this, what we do to animals, for these products that we just eat because we like it, because of the taste. We don't eat it because we need it. There's so many vegans, athletes. There are so many people out there who are not like surviving, but they're thriving on a plant-based diet. It's healthier for us. It's better for the planet. And just by looking at what we do to animals alone, it's enough reason for us to, you know, change to a plant-based diet.
Yeah, and the way you correlated that to being a human mother, having your baby taken away from you the day that your child is born, and to be subjected to that, to be part of that system, to be a part of that cycle, and to perpetuate that, and to know that that's what's going to happen to your child as well, and to not be able to do anything about it.
I know.
So to draw that line of empathy, is there a connection between feminism and veganism?
Yes, 100%. Literally.
And what is that?
Yeah. Veganism is feminism 100%. It's we are exploiting the female animals in the meat, dairy, and egg industry primarily. In the dairy industry, dairy is breast milk of a mother cow. So those are all female animals. Egg industry, eggs are is the ovulation of a female chicken. So all of these, they're all female animals that are used and abused in these industries. And if we want to be feminist, we should extend that as well to the other species on that we are. You know, like they should be allowed to be a mother. Mother cows do not get time to bond with their calf. And as a female, like we should understand this, how that pain of being away from your child, I mean, they feel it too.
Forcefully,
you know,
separated from your child.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy that as humans, we think just because they don't speak our language that they don't feel the same things we do. I mean, if you look at cats and dogs, and you can see the maternal love that they have for their offspring as well. The same applies to cows and chickens.
We're all mammals.
Exactly. And especially cows, because they're mammals, we can actually really relate that even more. But even chickens, we really... Like, chickens are the most exploited animal on this earth.
Why do you say that?
So basically, chickens are the highest number that we kill. So
more than any other animal.
More than every other animal. Our demand for chicken is crazy. The chickens, obviously, in the egg industry also get killed. So that's the eggs and the chicken meat that they get, that is included. But basically, we kill 70 billion land animals every year. But recently, Our World in Data actually published how many animals we kill every day. And of those, we kill 900,000 cows, 1.4 million goats, 1.7 million sheep, 3.8 million pigs. This is every day.
Every day.
11.8 million ducks, 202 million chickens, which means that every minute, so every day, 202 million chickens get killed. Every minute, 140,000 chickens are slaughtered. Every minute around the world. And it also includes hundreds of millions of fish.
202 million chickens
every day
are killed every single day.
Imagine. And these are all individual sentient beings who feel, who have, you know, the desire to live. They don't want to die. And we kill them at an unimaginable scale. Yeah.
You know, I read this recently. I think it was a Vox article that came out that 25% of all the animals that we kill, we actually don't even end up consuming them.
It's insane. Their whole lives are actual waste. It's so horrible. And what people also don't know is that a lot of the animals die even before they get slaughtered because they die in the farms themselves. So if you look at poultry farms, for example, there's a lot of death around. These chickens, we have bred them to be 5 times larger than they were in the 1950s.
What?
They're insanely large, and we've managed to grow their so they're able to grow within, I think it's 30 to 50 days of age, so that they're actually babies still, but they're actually matured and they've grown and to like a mature size. Hormones for sure. Yeah. And over the years, we've just managed to artificially breed them like this. But because of this, obviously,
I mean, of course,
exactly,
not for the chicken, but also for humans.
Obviously, yeah,
them.
Of course, all these injections. But what happens to these chickens then is that they're forced to grow at such a fast rate that their organs can't keep up, their legs can't keep up with the amount of meat that they have on their body. So what happens is that they can't walk. They literally, their legs can't support their weight, so they're seated and they can't reach their food bowl. So what happens is they die as well, not being able to reach their food bowl. They can't walk. They're just there, and they're in pain as well because of having to grow so fast.
So the legs succumb to the body weight.
Yeah.
Because the legs are not strong enough to support.
So there's a lot of death in the poultry farm itself. And those that do make it until 30 days old and they get slaughtered. So they're actual babies still. But yeah, so people also don't know that about the death on farms. And then we should wrap that up.
Wow. Dude, I'm shocked, like more than anything else. Okay. Earlier you said if we did this to puppies or cats, we know that, dogs care for their puppies. We know that, cats look after their kittens.
Of course.
Why do we not extend that empathy to other animals?
Yeah.
Why do we care for our dogs and our cats, but we don't really feel that amount of love or empathy when it comes to cows, chickens, pigs, when they are also animals that feel feel pain, that feel joy, that feel all of these emotions that our pets do.
So there is a term called speciesism, which was created by a woman called Melanie Joy, and she's written a book called Why We Love Dogs, Why We Eat Pigs, and Why We Wear Cows. And it says that we have this belief system. So speciesism is the same way of sexism and racism, where we differentiate between different sexes, different races. We differentiate between different species. So differentiate between a human, between a dog, between a cat, between a cow. And speciesism says that, we treat dogs in this way because they're dogs. There is no actual difference between a dog and a pig, but we treat dogs the way we do because they're dogs, and we treat pigs the way we do because they're pigs. And if we take this back,
for no other reason.
Exactly. And it's just because it's culturally being ingrained in us from the day we're born that we treat pigs like this, and cows are for food, and cats are for loving, and chickens are for our meal. So because we've been ingrained with this idea, that's why we do what we do. That's why we can't offer our compassion towards chickens in cages, but we offer our compassion to dogs in cages. And if we look at speciesism, that's just what it is. It's just a belief system. And we can change that belief system. The same way if the belief system of racism, where we had slavery so many years ago, we had this belief system that it's okay to treat people of a different race the way we treated them. And
we're
it's
treating animals the exact same way.
Exactly. And just because they are of a different species. And that's what veganism is all about, is becoming anti-speciesist and realizing that there is no moral difference between these animals that makes it okay for us to treat them the way we treat them. And it's recognizing that if we were to do what we do today to cows, chickens, pigeons, goats, if we were to do that to dogs and cats, it would be illegal. We'd be put in jail. Yeah. And that is speciesism, is the fact that it's illegal to do that to dogs and cats, but it's legal to do that to cows, chicken, pigs, and more.
You see outrage on social media all the time when there's a dog being bullied, when there's a dog being beaten up. Imagine having that same kind of anger.
Yeah.
When it comes to cows being treated that way and pigs being treated that way. And chickens being treated that way.
It's all about extending that compassion towards all species and not just the ones that we've said these are pets. Because if people were to meet a cow, if people were to meet a pig, you would realize that they are the exact same. Like I follow so many animal pages, and you can see that they act the same way as dogs and cats. So if we were only able to see that, and they're perfect examples for us to like, they are amazing, these animals, and they are the perfect example for us to see of how they should be treated, because they're just pure love, and that's the same way we should treat them as well.
How do we, if someone is just starting off on their vegan journey, is there anything you recommend? Is there any resources, anything that they can tap into, any support that they can seek to make that transition easier for them? But also, like you said, there's so many shocking facts that you come across. There's so much for you to digest. There's a lot of pain that you feel, and also I think regret of why you didn't know about this sooner, as I'm sure you did as well.
100%.
How do you help someone navigate that journey?
I know. And there's so much to it as well, because being vegan, it kind of alienates you from society in that way, right? Because you're kind of going against what everyone is doing. So it's a tough journey to go on, but if you look at it from the animal's perspective, like, it's a very rewarding journey in that way. But like you said, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of like shock, and it's also this speciesism that we touched upon. The society is speciesist, and if we are going to tell people they should care about chickens the way they care about dogs, you're not going to get a great response. They're going to say chicken is meat. Actually, I have a lot of people on Instagram. I've had a reel go viral, reach the wrong audience, all meat eaters. Now I get DMs from people. They say, I love chicken. They say, eat chicken. They say things like, they send me pictures of meat, of them eating meat. I got emailed a picture of them eating meat.
Oh God.
So
you get animal hate in your DMs.
I do.
As a vegan content creator. Wow.
I do. So it's hard to be vegan. It's hard when we have this ideology of we should treat all animals as equals, as we should. But we're living in this society, in this non-vegan world, and it's tough to recognize that people who are close to, even maybe family members, they will still eat those animals that we view in our head now as the same as cats and dogs, but they don't. They still view these animals as objects, as food, as a food resource. Yeah. So it's hard. So I would say find like a vegan community if you can, whether it's online or make some vegan friends. And in that way, you have that support system with you. Yeah. And take it slow as well. If they're just transitioning to vegan, when you just find out what happens to animals, I mean, take it slow on yourself. Like, you're doing the best you can for the animals already by, being inspired to turn vegan and taking small steps and make it sustainable for yourself. People, sometimes they see these footage of animals, they turn vegan overnight, but then they don't know how to go about it, and they suffer for themselves with their nutrition. Like, you need to also do some research in that way, which there's a lot of great vegan content creators who make vegan meals, like all plant-based food. So figure out like how to make your animal product meal turn into a vegan meal, but without taking anything out, but just replacing it with with plant-based protein. People take out the animal products, but then they don't replace it with something. So, and then they eat lower calories, because plants actually have less calories, are less calorie dense than animal products, which is why a lot of people also lose weight when they turn vegan, which is great initially. But you have to obviously maintain a good
protein.
Exactly, with plant-based protein, and you can get all the protein that you need from plants.
Yeah,
so
that's where most of the animals you eat get it from.
Exactly.
So, absolutely. Do you have top 3 favorite documentaries that you would recommend somebody to watch if they're on this path? So
if you are based in India, I would say Maa Ka Doodh is a really great one. Yeah, it touches upon the dairy industry in India and how crazy it is, really, how it says everything that people just don't know about. So it's a great watch. Okay. Very informative, and the director is a great friend of mine as well, and he's amazing. So definitely Maa Ka Doodh for free to watch on YouTube. If you are interested in like health aspect, I would say Game Changers is quite great in that way. And there's a new one recently by the creators of Game Changers called You Are What You Eat, and it's a docuseries. You Are What You Eat.
A docuseries.
Yeah, a docuseries where they did an experiment with 21 sets of identical twins, and they put one on an omnivore diet and the other one on a vegan diet to see the difference in their health after 8 weeks. The results are that after 8 weeks, the one that was on a vegan diet actually increased their life expectancy. Literally, they're going to outlive their other twin just because they've eaten a vegan diet. So they tested their actual like DNA and everything.
I love that. So real life experiment.
Yes. So You Are What You Eat, which is on Netflix since 1st of Jan.
So Maa Ka Doodh, Game Changers, and You Are What You Eat. Are there?
Yes.
Do you have top 3 book recommendations?
I'm a big fan of Earthling Ed. He's probably the vegan king.
Ed Winters.
Yes, Ed Winters from the UK. He has 2 books out. I've yet to read the second one that he just published last month. But I do like his book, This is Vegan Propaganda. And his next book that's coming out is How to Argue with a Meat Eater. So it's kind of like touching back upon what I said about dealing with non-vegans and how to, go about those conversations.
We all need that.
Yes. Yeah. So I love that. Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer is also a great one.
Eating Animals?
Yes. It inspired a friend of mine to turn vegetarian. So that was a great book. And the one I mentioned, Melanie Joy, Why We Love Dogs, Eat Pigs and Wear Cows. I think it also touches really upon speciesism and understanding that part of our society. Any
final message to our listeners, Farah, based on your journey and your work in animal advocacy and activism and everything that you've seen and uncovered and discovered so far?
Yeah. I mean, if you're vegan and you're, dealing with animal activism, I would say be kind to yourself because it's hard to deal with seeing that footage on a regular and trying to advocate for the animals while we're living in a non-vegan world. So I would say be kind to yourself and know that, even by being vegan, you're already a great advocate for the animals because you're, showing the world that you can be vegan and you can, thrive on a plant-based diet without harming others.
Yeah.
And if you're not vegan yet, I hope that, this kind of inspired you to just do more research and take it slow. Like if you're not able to transition immediately, it's a journey. I think it took me like 6 months of cutting out all animal products. And I'm really happy that I did. But just take it slow and do research because I think that research will inspire you more once you look at the footage, once you realize what happens and do your research on nutrition and all that. Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to tell someone who consumes animals today but doesn't know the reality behind where that animal comes from and how it gets on their plate?
I know. If they could meet like chickens and cows in real life, I would say do that. I think a friend of mine, I took him to a sanctuary and he actually said that he's probably unable to eat beef after visiting that sanctuary and meeting cows and stuff. Because
so connect with those animals.
Connect with the animals.
Find a way to...
Because we're so disconnected, right? Yeah. So if you can, because if a friend of mine, she rescued a hen. She rescued a hen and a rooster. And oh my God, the rooster like once cuddles and like goes on her lap and it's insane.
That's
and
so cute.
Like that shows you how these animals are so special. They're so unique. They all have a personality. Just like all dogs and cats have a personality. All these chicken, cows and goats and they're all in this farm. They all have their own unique personality. And to recognize that, to see that, I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Farah, how can we find you? How can we support you? How can we amplify the work that you do?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at It's Farah Amber. That's where I post most of my content. I love creating short video content like Reels, and also on YouTube as well. I have my own podcast as well called The Changemakers.
That's amazing. Keep doing what you do for the planet, for the animals. They're all rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. Thank you so much for being here with me today, Farah.
Thank you, Shreya, for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.